for the SA Drink of the Week this week, we've got some wines by Sorby Adams to look at with Glenn Malycha, who's my go-to wine man. Welcome back to the Adelaide Show podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve.
Sorby Adams. When I see that name, I just want to go, Sorby, 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 Sorby. There's just something breezy, relaxing about the name.
Mm-hmm.
Who has this name?
Winemakers in the night. Well, you should be singing more like the Adams family, because this is Simon Adams, the winemaker, with his family brand.
Wow. And now, this family brand, though, is it Simon who has a long history of involvement with a certain patch of dirt in South Australia?
He does. Should we drop name accordingly?
Let's name accordingly. Go on.
Simon Adams, I've known him for many years, Steve, and I believe he did about 20 years at Yalumba as a senior red winemaker. So boy, does he know winemaking on a really dynamic scale, and he also knows all the best vineyards around the Barossa, you see.
So is this like when someone leaves the family, the mob, they know where all the bodies are buried. When a winemaker of great experience moves on, they've got great memory of the better grapes that come from here and the nature of that soil. That's Simon, isn't it?
Oh yeah, in fact I feared for his life when he first departed Yalumba. Look, they're a fantastic winery, you know, one of the oldest Australian, or probably the oldest Australian family-owned winery in Australia. Love them dearly. And but yes,
lot of bodies.
But when Simon went off to do his own thing, I thought, boy, that's a lot of brains and intellect, you know, and enthusiasm that leaves the building. However, he's done the right thing and used that wisdom accordingly.
Yep. Okay, now we've got some sample. Let me have a look at what we've got here. So there's a Tristan Shiraz 2019. What do you know about this little number?
An absolute ripper little Shiraz that has been created with those vineyards that we're talking about. So Simon has set off to make what you'd call, I suppose, a classic style of Barossa Shiraz. And this is what I mean is this is for the people who save up half their life and travel halfway around the world just to come to the Barossa to see what we're famous for. Or there it is, right there.
Now, I think Simon won't mind. You described him as a straight down the line winemaker. Like he is that third batsman that comes in who knows how to play the straight bat and is reliable. They've had the flashy ones go past, but he will just blunt those sharp things, take opportunities when they arrive. That's Simon, isn't it?
Oh, magnificent. So if we think back to when Simon was at Yalumba, I know people out there will be familiar with names like Octavius or the Signature, and you think that his enthusiasm was behind that. And so to be able to make dynamic wines of that style that will last a long time and actually deliver that beautiful flavour, that structure you're after, you've got to have a clean head. You indeed are that third batsman, yes.
Now,
correct.
I noticed 24 months in French oak too, by the way. So that is good. Now, I'm got me curious now. What have we got here? So we've got the Shiraz. There's a Cabernet Sauvignon that he's made as well. Isolde. Isolde. I should know how to pronounce that name.
You
Very
say
famous
Isolde.
name. Yes, Isolde. Shakespeare refers to Isolde. Why did Sorby Adams, Simon Adams, call this?
Well, him and William were great mates.
Oh, were they?
Yes, so in fact, I think Simon was a bit of a ghostwriter back in the day, and didn't get all the credit he deserved. But no, look, there's a nod to the past there by keeping some family traditions and names alive there. But this Cabernet Sauvignon, once again, is something where you will find that Simon has allowed Mother Nature to let the Cabernet do its thing. So instead of pushing it too hard with too much oak, when we look at a wine like this, you will get beautiful leafiness and herbaceousness and that cocoa. That sort of chocolate that Cabernet can deliver. It's fascinating, well worth a look.
So really we're saying the batsman now is timing their shots beautifully. So with this cab, there's no effort. It's the balls come, the bat's hardly moved and thwack, it's off to the boundary.
Over the keeper's head, yes, straight out, straight out. And there's so much ripe berry flavour captured in this too. It's
another
magnificent.
24 months in oak. Now, what have we got on the end?
Delicious.
Just before we choose one, it's like play school. Which window will we go through?
I know.
We've got the Jutland.
Sorry, I'm just remembering that episode. Big Ted got his foot caught in the cupboard and they had to bandage it up. And I'm sorry.
It is a sad moment. Do we need to cut?
No, I'm okay. I'll soldier on.
All right. So Sorby Adams, Barossa, Grenache, Shiraz, Mourvedre. Now I say Mourvedre. How do you pronounce that?
Well, you could say Mourvedre, although you might get kicked off the bus. Or Mourvedre, or of course in Australia we're more familiar with just saying Mataro. Doesn't sound quite as romantic, but
Yes.
Mourvedre, beautiful.
So GSM, and which we have a long history of just referring to that as GSM here on the Adelaide Show podcast. We always have. So we've got Grenache, Shiraz, and Mourvedre. Tell me about Simon's approach to this. What do you remember? What do you recall from? In fact, I can't wait. I'm going to get you to talk to this one. Can you hold a glass?
I
up,
shall
please?
indeed. Thank you.
Because we haven't toasted our late patron yet either. Queen Adelaide. She'll be quite. Sort of tapping her foot next to William Shakespeare underground there somewhere.
We must beg for forgiveness.
But in spirit, I know we'll talk about the colour in a moment. So raise your glass, please.
Indeed.
To the Queen.
Cheers to the Queen. Magnificent. So, for those of you playing at home, of course, Grenache gets mentioned first, which is a good reminder that there's probably a bigger proportion of that than the other two varieties. So the Shiraz in the middle and then Mataro last. So, a lot of people might do a 60%, 30%, 10%. Sometimes you might do 33% of each. It really depends on Mother Nature and how the winemaker's playing the game. But Steve, let's think of this wine, these three varieties. Let's think of these three best friends going on a camping trip and sharing one sleeping bag. And by the end of the weekend, the friendship's just better. Do you know what I mean? The longer these are in the bottle together, the more they explore each other. They don't pull apart. They don't fight and leave in separate vehicles and go, you didn't get the firewood and you burnt the bacon on it. Like none of that. After spending a week in a very small tent, these three friends come out knowing a lot about each other and we benefit because of it.
So they're sleeping head to toe, toe to head to toe, in that sleeping bag. Reminds me, you did invite me on a camping trip. I'm glad I was busy that weekend.
Yes, it was great, by the way. It was really good.
Okay, we've got to get some semblance here because first thing when I got the palate, the nose of this, it was like Aurora Australis. The brightness of that Grenache just shone off. And you know how it has that bright red characteristic anyway?
Yes.
This has just gone thwack in the sky like a vivid sunset sunset. That's what I got on my nose. I don't know if you actually identified any.
Have I got any
fruit
on my nose?
Or we have some.
Yes, good.
We haven't even been camping either.
No, I know.
And then on your palate, what did you get?
Well, look, Grenache, it's probably going to bring the most red fruit to the party. And this is a good thing about Grenache. In the 90s, people made some really big style Grenaches and it couldn't breathe. And now Grenache is left to do its own thing with a bit of French oak. It's going to give you soft tannins, and it's going to give you pretty red berries. And the Shiraz component, of course, we're going to go more into black fruits there and a bit more tannin weight there, so that brings the middle to the party there. And it's interesting, the Mourvedre or the Mataro, for me, I mean, everyone's different, as you know, but for me, that's the component that makes me reach for the salami or go to get the gas and get the barbecue going and see where we're going with some char grilled meat or even the sausage. That's more a savoury component coming in there, and that's the third member of the camping trip.
Wow. Another thing I escaped from the camping trip is you're reaching for the salami. But
Yes.
I actually got a hint of some, not obtrusive, some soft licorice as I got within the first 10, 15 seconds on my palate. And then a sort of a muted spray of some of those red and black fruits. It was hard for me to distinguish particular ones. It was just an overall hint, a suggestion. And I wonder if that's partly because it's a blend of the three, and
you are correct.
Identifying.
You are correct. And an intelligent person would say some has become more than its individual parts, whereas me, I can't remember how that saying goes, so I'm just going to say the three together does become better than one when you get it right, like Simon does.
Now, there's enough on this, in this, from a sweetness, it's not sweet, but it has got a little fruity give.
The ripeness, that's the key.
A ripeness to it. So you can drink this by itself. It would pair with many, many tame and even vivacious foods.
Yes.
And it has a slight cleansing tannin right at the end. Not prominent at all, very polite one. Sort of one that bows to you as it leaves the door.
It doesn't slam shut.
No. Like a tent flap.
It quietly...
It's more like a tent. It just gently zips itself up again.
Nylon zip.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
Maybe with a soft little door stopper, the ones that Grandma used to have just underneath to stop the breeze as it gently waves goodbye. Fascinating wine. Good lunchtime wine and dinner, not so much breakfast, but a great all-rounder.
This is superb.
It is, isn't it?
Glenn, you are lifting our gaze. It's almost like you are taking us on a winemaker's camping trip, and we've unzipped, we've put our head out, and we've looked and we've seen the country. We arrived in the nighttime, and now the next morning we're seeing the great vista that there is. Of course, Simon takes the lion's share of the credit because it's his wine that's doing that. But you're the one who chose the site.
Correct.
And the one that we're
Correct.
going to
It's just that Simon is on the camping trip, but he's in the 20-foot-long air-conditioned caravan, plugged into the power where we're roughing it in the tent.
As he should. He's done he's paid his dues.
Thank you, Simon.
All that's left for me to say for this tasting is the Sorby Adams. Oh, by the way, where do we get Sorby Adams wines?
Oh, you know the rules.
Okay,
No cellar door at this stage, but if you ring and ask really nicely by appointment, you may be able to see Simon and his family up there. As long as they know you're coming, they've got time to do their hair and wash the car and that sort of thing. Otherwise, as usual, all of our friendly independent bottle shops within South Australia and a few interstate, of course, too. Or you can look on the website and go direct.
All that's left for me to say is, by the way, I've just taken an extra slurp.
You didn't.
This is beautiful and so. It's easy to drink, but not in the way they say that for barbecue wines that are just they're not. It's just so easy. Like
Moorish, soft and rich and Moorish.
It's like Simon's big 70-foot camping trailer that would just drive so beautifully. That's what this wine did on my palate. Sorby Adams, Barossa, the Jutland, Grenache Shiraz Mourvedre 2019 is the South Australian drink of the week.
Adelaide, Adelaide.